You're listening to SM Media, the number one place for exclusive content.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of the Scottish Football Show Extra right here on SM Media. I'm Scott McPike. It's an absolute pleasure to be your host as always. We've got an Auchinleck Talbot special in this week's episode. I know we kind of talk about Auchinleck a lot in the show, but we've never had a few of Shanker's teammates on, but this week we've made an exception. First of all, we're joined by Kieran and Healy. Kieran, it's a pleasure to welcome you on to the show. Thanks for coming on.
No worries, mate. Good to be here.
It's an absolute pleasure to have you on. And finally, after a long time of asking, we've got Neill McPherson in the show. Neill, it's a pleasure to welcome you on. Thanks for joining us.
Pleasure to be here. Cheers.
Brilliant. We're looking forward to this. Obviously, it's been a long time coming. We've been trying to do this show for a while. Kieran, before we get into talking about the season so far, do you think you'll do a better job than Shankers?
I don't know. He's experienced now. He's done it a few times, so I'll give him that. He's good on it, to be fair.
Neil, give us a wee Shankers critique in his podcasting so far before we get into the season.
By the way, he talks a different way in the changing room now. He doesn't have podcast. That's one
I've never heard him so polite.
He knows his football stuff, to be fair to him.
Nah, definitely. But we'll obviously get into we've got a few Shanker stories later on because this is a chance to embarrass him. But before the season started, we were talking a bit about how the season was going to go, and we spoke about where Auchinleck going to be the same as they've been in recent years. Kieran, we'll start with you. Obviously, you're sitting top of the league. It's went far better than a lot of people thought.
I think being out for so long, it was difficult to kind of get back into the swing. I wouldn't say we've been brilliant, to be fair. Maybe the last few weeks we've came to the fold a wee bit, but I think at the start it was just about trying to get back into a rhythm, trying to get back into kind of like training and get back amongst the boys. But no, we're happy where we are. We've done well. Just a wee kind of tiny blip against Darwin, but everything else has been kind of perfect. So no, good to get back.
Brilliant. Neil, we said at the start of the season that there was a lot of teams coming up who could potentially kind of give Talbot a run, and Talbot have certainly kind of batted them off so far. It's been probably as good a start to the season as you could have hoped for.
Aye, you couldn't complain about the start we've had, but as Kieran said, the hardest thing was getting back into the rhythm of things. Kind of the slow start we had, kind of training last October to December when we weren't playing, and then stopping again for a few months, and then even when we started back in May, you're kind of worried about things stopping again. But no, apart from the Darwin game, it's been pretty smooth, but it's not been pretty at times if we're being honest about it. But we've grinded out the results. That's the main thing. Aye,
obviously we'll talk a wee bit. 20 games in the league, 16 wins, 3 draws, 1 defeat. We'll go through it kind of for the start of the season to now. Open with a 2-2 draw against Clydebank at Beechwood. Kieran, that game was obviously a big game, getting back after such a long time off. What was your kind of thoughts of that game as a whole, and how good was it to be back in that stadium where so many good memories?
I think the two teams are a wee bit kind of rusty, to be fair. I know Clydebank played last year, but I think it was just one of the games that boys were blown after 10 minutes, and they were getting a second wind, and you're making runs even on my mate just because you were glad to get back. But it probably wasn't a great performance for either team. I think a draw was probably a fair result, to be fair. There wasn't many chances, I don't think. So I think it was just one of the blow cobwebs off, try to get back in and make sure you just don't lose the first game. I think that's, well, look back at that in the season and say that was a decent result, to be fair.
Mm-hmm. Neil, what was that first game of the season like, being back in front of that crowd and get a big game against Clydebank, obviously getting a 2-2 draw?
Well, to be fair, the Clydebank games are always good. It's always kind of big crowds, big occasions, and it was hectic. It was a hectic game of football, but it was just two teams that I think they were happy to be back playing and didn't want to lose, and it was back and forth a wee bit. As Kieran said, there was probably no many clear-cut chances for either team, but except for me putting one in my net, but it was probably a good point and end up.
Oh, the two of you scored that game, actually.
I just scored the wrong way.
Obviously, after that Clydebank game, you've moved on to a 7-game winning run to kick off the season. The first couple of games we'll touch on, Rob Roy, we were obviously at the Troon game, and then Kilbirnie. 3 big wins to go off to a winning start. Kieran, that was probably as good a a run as you could have got at that time?
I think because of the Saturday, Wednesday games as well, kind of momentum's a big king in football. Once you get going, it's hard to stop. So it was just one of these things. Try and get 3 points. I think the performances, that comes secondary anyway. But the Saturday, Wednesday was tough, wasn't it? Like Rob Roy on a Wednesday night, boys coming for work. I remember it was a roasting hot night that night as well. So it's just these ones, get the 3 points, get down the road and then try and look forward to the next game. But no, it was a very good start for us.
Mm-hmm. Neil, was there any of the games that kind of stick out as big wins?
All three of them kind of. At Auchinleck, you're not happy with just a draw, so obviously we drew against Clydebank. It was important that we started stringing some wins together even that early on in the season, and it is tough going Saturday, Wednesday, especially when we were off for about 14, 15 months before that, but no, it couldn't have went any better, that wee stretch of games after.
Yeah, obviously, and then after that, Blantyre, Lags, Bonnet, and then another one over Troon. Must have been good though for the dressing room to get that wee run of going and getting top of the league really early, Kieran.
Aye, it was, but again, you can't really enjoy it because you're always just looking to the next game. Our training was probably the easiest sessions we've had because we didn't really get ran because your body was keeping itself ticking over anyway. So it was, listen, it's 3 points at Talbot. It's a must every single game. So it was just one of the ones. Once the final whistle's done, it's forgotten about. You look forward to the next game. But again, you can't really ask for a better start than what we had.
Mm-hmm. That run, Neil, for yourself, how good was it to obviously for the defence to be scoring goals and obviously no losing as many?
Well, to be fair, I think we conceded a couple of goals in that stretch, but I remember the one down at Kilburnie was a worldie. The boys popped in the top bag for about 30 yards. You're annoyed to concede goals like that, but sometimes you need to just applaud what the boys done. But it was good to just get a stretch of wins going and then tightening up at the back end. That's what's most important to the five of us back there and let the midfielders and strikers go and play their game.
Definitely, yeah. But well, obviously after that 7-game run, it ended with a 1-1 draw over Beith. Kieran, were you unlucky that day not to get a win? And what was your overall thoughts of that game?
Looking back, I wouldn't say we were unlucky. We had chances, but I think so did Beith that game as well. I think again it was just you're not guaranteed 3 points every single game. You need to work for it, and other teams are not going to just come down and lie down to you because you're Talbot. So Beith are a big club as well. Get Butch at the helm there, and they've got a lot of good players. So again, I think it's probably not the worst result. I know it's at home, you kind of want to win, but it might not be the worst result come the end up. But I wouldn't say we overly deserved 3 points. We had a couple of big period, a couple of chances at the end up, but half chances at most, I would say. So again, one each probably fair.
All right. Neil, would you go along with that? And then obviously, how big was that win against Cumbernauld, the 3-0?
The big thing for me in the Wednesday night against B, I think it was tiredness. I think all the games had kind of caught up to both teams. It wasn't really the exciting game of football you've ever watched, but going 1-0 down, it's hard to get back into the game sometimes when you're 1-0 down at Beechwood because teams just like to see it out. But we got the goal and maybe could have got the 3 points at the end, but it was probably another good point to get given we're 1-0 done.
Right, there's a couple of games I want to get your overall thoughts on, what more than any games which were described as mental before they were at the game. First of all, that Cumnock game, 2-0 down at half time and then coming back, the typical kind of Talbot performance, getting back to a 3-2 win. Kieran, the first half, what went wrong in the first half that day?
I don't know. I think everything just didn't happen for us. We weren't playing a right game. We weren't pressing. We weren't getting close. We weren't really creating chances. We weren't really doing anything. It felt as if we were down to 10 men or something. We were sitting in, but the half-time whistle, I was delighted for the half-time whistle. Right now, I think Big Andy had a save. The boy cut the ball back and he had a save tipped over the bar, and that could have made it 3. The first half was horrendous, to be fair. That's probably the worst we've played this year.
Neil, what was your kind of thoughts in that first half? Because it was a bit surprising because you never really saw it coming.
No, that was miserable. It was definitely the worst half of football we played that the season so far. conceding in the first couple of minutes. We've done that a couple of times this season for reasons I don't know, but it was terrible. As Kieran said, you just want to get in at half time and try and regroup, but we always knew we would come back into the game at some point, so half time came at a good time for us. It could have been about 4-5-0 if you had been honest about it.
After that half time team talk, what changed? Kieran, what was the motivating factor to then go and win the game 3-2, and how good was that second half?
I think the boys knew themselves. We couldn't play any worse, so it was up after that. There was nothing we could have done that second half that would have been worse than what we'd done the first half. So we even Tucker wasn't overly critical at half time. There's a lot of boys in that changing room that they don't really need. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot of leaders. They don't need told when we've had a bad game of that. So I think we knew ourselves. We owed the supporters, but it was a brilliant crowd. We owed them a second half performance, and probably the motivation for us was the way the Cumnock players were acting, going up the tunnel on that day. I think they thought the game was done. So I think that was kind of motivation as well. We kind of got a wee kick off that by saying, I mean, it's still 45 minutes. You scored 2 goals, we could score 3. And I think for the referee blew his whistle, we pressed, we got up an extra 10, 15 yards, and we pressed them. And naturally, they probably just wrapped in because they were 2-0 up. So they probably just thought we can hang on. But I think we scored the first, and then Jamie Glasgow's cracked the bar for about 30 yards. And I think after that, then you could sense the kind of ground was changing. It was kind of coming behind us, and all the Talbot fans were behind the Cumnock goal, and as if they were pulling the ball towards there. So I can't remember, the second goal was a penalty, and Shankers put a penalty away. To me, I knew we were going to win that, and it was just by how many. And great throw it by Andy to Shanks, and Shanks to Jamie Glasgow across to Brian Boylan. But I was absolutely gubbed when that goal went in, because I think I ran to Shanks, who then had to run all the way back over to Brian Boylan. So the FL almost they only said 20 minutes, and I was like, geez. But no, it was brilliant. That's probably one of the best feelings I've had in a game, just purely because it's a big game for the two clubs, and it's against Cumnock, especially at Cumnock as well. It was absolutely brilliant.
Aye. Neill, where does that second half rank in your career so far? That must have been a brilliant moment to go 2-0 down, 3-2 up.
It's definitely up there. To be fair, I thought 20 minutes into the second half, I think it took us a wee while to score, and then we scored 3 within a space of 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. You kind of thought that it wasn't going to happen, but it's happened a few times now since my time at Auchinleck. We've been down and out, and then teams were kind of they were having a laugh with each other on the park and stuff like that, and that's not something we're used to. And we managed to scrape it out and get the win, and the goals are brilliant, to be fair. Big Craigie's whipped in a cross for the first goal that he could probably never do again in his life. When I seen that cross going to Kearseed, I knew that we had that in us to come back and win the game, and thankfully we did, because we wouldn't have heard the end of it if we didn't.
You've built on that to obviously going 2 big away wins against Blantyre and Rossvale. Kieran, did that Cumnock game obviously give you a lift to kind of go on and win the 2 games?
I think so. I think, as I said, you're expected to win every game at Auchinleck, but especially knowing how bad we played the first half against Cumnock, to know we can do that in the second half against a team, it should give you confidence going into any game, to be fair. But going to Blantyre and Rossvale, both difficult places to go. Blantyre are scrapping for their lives, and Rossvale maybe felt unlucky not to take it for the game against us. I thought they were brilliant the way they kept the ball and they moved us about. That was probably one of the most difficult games, as I said, just purely the way they kept the ball. You'd have thought that they were sitting top of the league and we weren't there, but to get the 3 points up there, again, a midweek game, it's just about 3 points down the road, and thankfully we've done that.
Aye. Neill, would you go along with that, 2 big wins?
Aye, but the Rossvale game was definitely one of our hardest at that point. In the first half, I think we touched the ball, but we managed to do what we did and get a goal in front and just sit in and see it out. But no, that was good back-to-back wins to back up the Cumnock result and just keep the momentum going with us.
Aye. The next game I want to touch on in a bit of detail was that 3-3 draw against Pollock, which has been described as wild from start to finish. Kieran, what happened? What was your thoughts of that day?
I had a cracking view. I got injured against Rossvale, so I was standing at the side. Just typical us, we just make it hard for us. So we go 2-0 down. I think we get it back to 2-1. They get a man sent off for 2 yellow cards, and then I think we make it 2 each just before half time. And I think the second half, I don't know if I think they get a penalty. They go free. I think they get an air man sent off for, I think it was an elbow, that one, I can't remember.
I think it was wee Fordale and Craig. No, it was and then the centre half came down in the line.
So I think the centre half gets sent off first, for shouting fans. So down to 9 men, so you think they're going to kick on. They get a penalty, they score it 3-2 up. So they're just defending for their lives. They've got the crowd behind them. They've got kind of the home advantage as well. So, but I think after that, it was like a training game. We had like 90% possession, but they were defending well. And then we Foldy, I think, he sent off for an elbow. Bizarrely, the referees gave them the foul and then sent me Foldy off for the elbow. It's just mental what happened. There were 3 penalties in the game as well. I don't even think one of them, two for them, one for us. I don't think any of them were penalties. And then we scored. I think we scored about, I think, at 86 minutes or something. G scores. And then again, we had, I think, about 3 or 4 more chances after that, and we just couldn't put it in the back of the net. But
to be fair, Jordan Longmuir had what 3
wonder saves,
minutes, man. 3 brilliant saves.
I think he got the man of the match for Pop on their Twitter anyway, so that kind of tells you everything. But after 25 minutes, half an hour, we're doing this thing again where we're 2-0 down and you're taking a draw all day, going up to Newlandsfield, you're taking it, but then by the end of the game, when you look back at it, they get down to 8 men. You could maybe say 2 points drop, but it's just one. You're glad to get away with something at the end up.
Neil, where does that game rank as a wild game as you can remember?
It's probably the most wild game I've played in. Auchinleck Talbot, especially up in the Lansfield, it's normally one of the biggest games of the season. You're up there, kind of like a 4-figure attendance, and that game was just ruined by a referee. But being 2-0 down up there, you would take a point. But when the boys are down to 8 men, you're expected to win the game. But they made it dead hard for us. They forced us out wide. They just compacted the middle. So we got the goal back to make it 3 each and got the point. But maybe looking back on it, it's unfortunate not to get 3. But it was a point up the road after that refereeing performance that day.
The one over Hurlford, the 1-0 one with a late goal, that must have been a big one. Kieran.
It was a big one. Hurlford again, they're normally a team that's thereabouts at the end of the season. It's a big club, and they always make it difficult coming to Beechwood. But I think that second half, we were really good the second half, to be fair. We missed a couple of really good chances. I missed a sitter, to be fair, for about put that down to rustiness. I was just back. I've just, again, 1-0, 10-0, it doesn't really matter. It's 3 points and they're on the board. So that was a good result, really good result.
We'll move on to that Darwin game, Neil. That was a big game for the club, obviously. We covered the game. Darwin scored a really early goal and then you brought it back level with Keir Sampson. It was literally like straight up the park. Darwin scored again in 2-1. Did that give you a kind of... Was that a bit of a stun, that goal straight away from when you equalised?
Aye, it killed us a wee bit. We've just got ourselves back in the game. It was another game we found ourselves down within the first 10 minutes. As I said earlier, it's happened a few times this season, but we've got our goal back, and then I think we've got the ball going up the park, and they've took the ball off Keir, and it's within 10 seconds of that, it's in the back of our net, which shouldn't happen. We don't like that happening. And to be fair, Darwin seen it out well in the second half. I don't think we had too many great chances to get back in the game in the second. I think we had them hemmed in the full second half, but we just couldn't find that second goal to take it back. And it was a must-win for them. It was a must-win for us as well. But you could tell Darwin came down to Beechwood that night needing none less than 3 points, and they dug it out well, to be fair to them.
Kieran, was that a disappointing result, that Darwin loss?
Any result you don't win it all, it's obviously disappointing, but I would say because the kind of publicity on that game, it was a kind of, especially at home as well, it was a big crowd there. Just don't think we didn't deserve to win it, I would say. I don't think Darvel overran us at any point. I think it was just one of they got the lead, they held on well. I thought they defended pretty well, to be fair, but I think we should be doing better middle to front, kind of try to create better chances. But that was a slow one, but it's just one game, so back up on.
Aye, 2 big wins after that, obviously 5-1, a big result over Irvine Meadow, and then a 2-0 away win at Clydebank. Neil, they're big wins, obviously, if you want to go and win the league. They're 2 wins, if you do go on to win the league, there'll be 2 wins you look back on as massive.
Aye, to be honest, I think the second half at Irvine Meadow has been the turning point of our season. Kind of first half, the first group of games were winning, but we weren't relatively playing that well and being as convincing as normally we are kind of going forward. But we went out with him 1-0 down. No, we went one each at half time in the Meadow game, and then we've just come out and absolutely battered them, and then that's carried on to the Clydebank. The Clydebank game was probably the most like us performance we've had this season. Kind of gone up early doors and just shutting the back door, don't let them near our goal. I don't think Andy really had anything to do that game, and then that was 6 massive points we took from 2 hard places to go in the league.
Yeah, definitely. Kieran, would you go along with that? 2 massive wins that could be
aye, huge.
The season.
I think the Meadow game, the first half, we were playing into the win, so we kind of knew we were going to maybe hem down a wee bit of pressure, which we did, and we dealt with pretty well. Second half, I knew it would be a different game, and I agree with Neil. That kind of, to me, that's kicked us on, and when I say it's changed the way we play, but I think it's maybe given us a wee bit more confidence to get the ball down and maybe try and play, rather than before it was a wee bit just try and get the goals and then we'll be all right. I think once you get the ball down, you play. There's a lot of good players in our team. Once you get it done, play, you'll get chances to score. And on that day of the Meadow, they were flying in, to be fair. It could have been more. And then get up to Clydebank, it was a really professional performance for us. I don't really think anybody else watching that game would have probably went, Clydebank, they kept the ball, they done that. But as Neil says, Andy, the defence weren't under any pressure. Andy didn't have any saves, came for a couple of crosses, do you know what I mean? Done what he needs to do, but scored 2 goals, and then you shouldn't be losing games going up 2-0 anyway. So that was a professional performance, I would say. It was a good performance.
The last, obviously, league game so far was the 5-0 win against Benburb on Saturday. Graham Wilson with 4 goals. Neil, how good is Graham Wilson when he's in that kind of goal-scoring form?
Oh, well, I've said it once, I'll say it again, there's probably no better player at our level than what G is, to be fair, when he's on his day. And it just seemed on Saturday, and he kind of came to his feet, running about the box, ended up in the back of the net. But Saturday was a huge win for us, obviously, after Hamlin. It's a banana skin gone for kind of that big occasion the Saturday before. But we've come out, and to be honest, we dominated the game from start to finish. I don't think MD would have complained at the scoreline. We took our chances and done the job.
Kieran, that win on Saturday, how impressive was it?
As Neil says, it's got the potential to maybe trip you up after being such a high with the Hamilton game. It's easy for boys to maybe take the foot off the gas and just think, it's a team that we should be beating. I've not played against a team this year where I've walked off the park and went, that was easy. So, I mean, it could have been easily one of the games where you drop 2 points or you drop all 3. It did have the potential. It was a horrible day. But Tucker picked the exact same team for the Hamilton game. It wasn't a case of, maybe rest some players. It was a statement, and I think we went out and we showed that we're up for it this year, to be fair. There's no complacency anywhere beating Hamilton and then come back to the league. It's just business as usual for us.
Yeah, definitely. We'll touch a bit in the cup runs. We'll start with the junior in the south. These are still obviously doing really well, and then big wins, obviously, going into the quarter-final of the Junior Cup, and then the South with big wins over likes of West Calder. Neil, everyone's going right in the Cups as well, like especially in the Junior in the South, like the big Cups for you obviously, but the Junior in particular, that's a big...
Aye, you see a lot of people nowadays saying the Junior Cup isn't kind of what it used to be, and it probably isn't with all the teams that have pulled out it, but we're still in it. It's a cup that means hunters to us, obviously. I've won a couple now in my time, and we're still in the heart for this one. So any cup you're in, it doesn't matter about one it is. You want to be the team that's lifting it come the end of the season.
Yeah, definitely. Kieran, how big is that Junior and Junior Cup to get kind of as far as you can, and obviously hopefully retain it for you?
It's obviously massive. It's massive for the club, the village, and fans. I've not won one yet, so massive for me. Big Neil wants to part ways with one of his medals, I'll take one right after. I win it on merit, but it's big occasions. You get to the Junior Cup final, it's on the telly, it's massive crowd, so it's something I would like to experience being at Talbot.
Right. Neil, obviously the Scottish Cup, you've had success in it, obviously beating Ayr at Beechwood, but this season's been obviously unbelievable, particularly the medal game and then going to Preston and then that massive win at Hamilton. What's been your highlights of the run so far?
All three of them, to be fair. I think in the first round, Maida away could have probably been the hardest tie we could have got, or one of them anyways. And again, we found ourselves 1-0 down, but I think Shanks has come on and changed the game. That day he's obviously scored and we've dug out the win. And then Preston, we've just, same as the Clydebank game, just went up away from home in a big game and went ahead and done my job. And then the Hamilton game was just unbelievable. I don't think anybody watching the Hamilton game last week could have thought if we won that game 2-3-0, they could have complained. I thought we obviously didn't have as much as the ball was then, but when we did have it, I think we created a couple of good chances. Kieran could have scored, I think Jambo had one. But as I said, nobody could have complained if we won that game 2-3-0.
Kieran, where does that Hamilton game rank in your career so far?
It's up there, definitely up there with the kind of magnitude there. It's floating your up and all that, talking about it, floating your up, telling you they've got X amount of money on Talbot to win and all that. So that kind of pressure there walking up on Friday. But no, it's up there, as Neil says. It's first 10 minutes, I think it was 8 minutes or something. I've missed an absolute sitter, to be fair. I should have been 1-0 up.
I get a left hip run it.
Oh, I see if I'd have scored, I think it'd have been too early, but so that's what I'm saying. But no, as Neil says, we know our jobs, and kind of big games like that, we know our jobs, we know our formation, we know where we should be. So we're happy for teams to keep the ball in their own half. Do you know what I mean? It's when they get 40, 30 yards out, and that's when they get pressed. And again, I think Andy's only save, we've seen it in the highlights, I think Andy's only save was in the second half when the boy cut him his left. Great save, and then he's got the rebound too, I think. Anything else after that, it's just kind of bread and butter, Andy. But
that's the game changer.
I know, so and that gives us the confidence or not to know that we know that anyway. Andy at the back, if somebody does get through, then it needs to be a decent striker to pick the ball by Andy. But I think the saves maybe kicked his own a wee bit, because you can see the boys get a lift off that, and Graham Wilson just does what Graham Wilson does, just brilliant.
Aye, definitely. We'll touch a bit on what's coming up for you later on in the show when you're in the fourth round of the Scottish Cup. We'll touch a bit on your careers, obviously. Neil, we'll start with you. What was your kind of early footballing memories before you went to Auchinleck?
Well, it was just kind of about the same as what most boys are nowadays, kind of pro youth for a young age. I was 16, 17, and then just went back to boys club, just went back to playing my pals for a couple of years. I actually chucked it for a season. Then I've got, I don't know if you know him, Tommy Tate, over there. I probably got him to thank for getting back into football. He's the one that pumped me out when I wasn't playing, and then got a wee kind of loan stint at Girvan. That was my first taste of juniors, and then moved to Darwin for a couple of years, and then eventually ended up at Auchinleck.
Brilliant. Kieran, what about yourself? How did you end up falling in love with football? And what was your early memories of your time in football?
I was just the same, just boys club, going a bit Paisley. Played with a team called Lancraig, I think, for about 12 years or something. I was up to under 19s, I played with them. And then I went to St Peter's for the last year of my 19s, and then I went to Johnston Borough under 21s for 3 years. Won the Scottish Cup there my last year, captained us to the Scottish Cup. And then I got a phone call off Clarkey and Martin at Renfrew to go in and speak to them, and I signed at Renfrew for 3 years or 4 years, I think.
I like how you get to be captain to the Scottish Cup in there.
You're going to wear it tonight, mate. I've still got it in my drawer.
Neil, you went to Auchinleck about 5 years ago. How much you loved your spell there so far?
It's been amazing, to be fair. My first season was the most straightforward. I don't think I really played any football for the first 9-10 months until the hectic schedule came in about the April. We are playing Saturday, Monday, Wednesday, but ever since then I can't complain. I've kind of made memories that you'll never forget, and won trophies, and made a lot of good pals through it. So it couldn't be going any better, to be honest.
Brilliant. Kieran, what about yourself? Obviously, you joined there a couple of years ago. It's been obviously kind of up and down with COVID and things like that, but how good is it now to be settled in the team and hopefully going to world success for you?
Nah, brilliant. When you first kind of get the phone call that Talbot are interested, then you just the only place you really kind of want to go. So I was delighted to sign first hand. Obviously, when I signed, I think it was a season after they'd won the league and they'd won the Junior Cup and they beat Ayr. So I'm going into a team that's done all that. Do you know what I mean? It's a wee bit daunting at the start, but I just kind of thought if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. I'll fling myself in about it and see how it goes. And thankfully, it's turning out all right now. I'm starting to get a wee run of games in that. So, delighted. It's been brilliant. As Neil says, you meet people that will be pals for life, definitely.
We've got to obviously mention Tucker as well. Tucker, when you think Auchinleck, you think of Tommy Sloan. Neil, what's your relationship like with Tucker and how good a manager is he when you actually kind of think of it? You spent a lot of time with him. How good is he?
Oh, he's a good manager, but he's probably as old school as they come. You don't really know what you're getting into at Auchinleck until you're there. You obviously once you hear their interest, you get into training, you're expecting kind of all the fancy drills and all that are involved in football. But not my first session, I remember getting put in the middle of a circle and getting balls fired at me for 20 yards out to keeper and tricks through and stuff like that. And to be fair, everybody gets that treatment, but no, he's obviously going to be one of the best managers at kind of the non-league level, and he gets you going for the big games. He gets everybody kind of fired up, and everybody would go out and nobody would deny you'd probably run through a brick wall for him come a Saturday.
Aye. Kieran, what's the sort of effect has Tucker had on you?
He's a character.
Back into a centre mid.
Same as a defender, no fit with defence once, but no, he's a character. He sees things in people that nobody else will probably see. He's trying to turn me into a centre attack mid, and I don't know what he's doing, but no, he's been brilliant to be fair. You know exactly where you stand with him. As Neil says, he picks you up for the big games, and even if you've not had a good game, he picks you back up as well. But he's no shy in telling you you're a donut sometimes too. As we all know.
Probably isn't the team getting that very well.
Aye, we've got a few to ask you a bit later on, obviously, when it comes to Tucker. But if you've seen the show, we put you in the spot with the quickfire questions round. It's usually the manager that gets the quickfire questions, but you're both getting them this week. Who wants to go first?
You want Neil?
When you go then, Scott.
Right, you ready here? Right, I know the answer to that first one, so I don't know why I'm asking. Van Bronckhorst or Postecoglou?
Both. I've got to go back to my family ties. I'll go Postecoglou.
Messi or Ronaldo?
Ronaldo.
Salah or Haaland?
Salah.
Favourite film?
Oof. Shawshank Redemption.
Very good. Best manager played under? Daft question, isn't it?
Tommy.
Win the league or win the Scottish Junior Cup?
Both.
You can pick 3 players from other teams in the Premier Division to join Talbot. Who would they be?
Oof. To be honest, I couldn't tell you. I like the boy McShane's obviously decent at Darwin. Kind of Stuart McCann's good as well. To be honest, I don't really know. I couldn't, off the top of my head, I couldn't think of that. I'd need more time.
Best character you've met in football?
Shankers.
You'll love that, won't you? Best player played with?
Graham Wilson.
Who's the worst?
Me.
Best player played against?
Big Piezo that played with Hearts.
Most embarrassing moment?
Having a howler in my Scottish Cup final debut against Hurlford and getting a penalty away in the first half hour.
Favourite other sport?
Golf now.
Who's the best golfer at Auchinleck? Don't say Shankers, what you do.
I've only seen Shanks and Wally Lyle play, so I'll give them at both.
Very good. Kieran, are you ready to be put in the spot?
Yes, when you go, mate.
Van Bronckhorst or Postecoglou?
Postecoglou.
Messi or Ronaldo?
Messi.
Salah or Haaland?
Because Neil's on it, Salah.
Favourite film?
Goodfellas.
Best manager played under?
Tucker.
Win the league or win the Scottish?
Scottish.
Best manager. Oh, I've asked you that already. 3 players for other teams for another team in the Premier League to join. Who would it be?
We followed it, Pop. Mega at Darwin. Thought he was decent. I think I'm midfield on there. Maybe Fries at Beef.
I'll jump in, Scott. I'll make my third Ben Lewis at the bus.
Very good.
He got one.
Best player played with?
Toss up between Shanks and G, but I'll give it to G. I don't want to give Shanks any credit.
Who's the worst?
Shanks.
Best player played against?
Maybe Fraser Fivey, we played Cove a couple of years ago.
Most embarrassing moment?
I don't know. It's probably plenty, I just can't think.
Don't know if I'd any like that I can think of.
What one?
No, I can't think of any like so you need to go earlier than that.
No, I don't know. I remember the goalie running out once at Boys Club, and I've feeded it back to him, and he's standing right next to me, and it's been in. But I can't really think of anything else.
Favourite other sport?
Favourite
other sport?
To watch, probably darts. Don't really play any other sports, but to watch darts.
Very good. Right, well, put you in the spot now with the teammates round. We're going to just ask you this, and you can both chime in with your answer one after the other, all right?
Yep.
Time to put your teammates under the microscope. Best dancer? Neil, you go first. Who's the best dancer?
Can you actually tell? I don't think anybody really. Oh, Big Craigie. See Big Craigie bust a few in a night out.
Aye. And that pop road up the town.
Aye.
Got some serious shapes in there.
Aye. I'll go Big Craigie.
Worst dancer?
Can you pick him again?
Aye, Big Craigie. One of the biggest dancer, but his moves are debatable.
Same question. Who's the cleverest?
Oh, if you're struggling here.
If you're going job-wise, it's all McCracken, but he's not the cleverest guy you'll ever meet in your life.
That is man's common sense-wise.
Who's the
I
thickest?
don't know, actually.
Oh, we've got a few in the team, man. I think I'll go wee Aaron because his spelling in the group chat's horrendous.
I would agree there. I'll go with that.
Always spelling a physio.
Who do you think could be the next Tommy Sloan? Who could be the future manager?
Whitey.
All day. 80 mini Tommy Sloan.
Best trainer?
Wee Robbie McCracken.
I probably agree with that. I would Tasley's granny.
Worst trainer?
Me.
Nah,
probably not. Tucker would probably say me, but
I get you Big Craig again. He just stands at the side with the rubber bands in his ankles.
aye, true.
Who's the team hard man?
Wee Robbie.
Neil. All day.
Who's the most skillful?
Shankers.
The
The ball at his feet, Shankers. For me, anyway.
Shankers sees things that nobody else sees, to be fair. He sees a pass.
Campbell, Jamie Glasgow as well, if he's running it, he's probably the one player I wouldn't like running them to the ball.
Aye, he's quick, to be fair.
Most likely to go into the media?
Got to get his Shankers in, he's got 1 foot in it already.
Aye.
Who's the quickest?
Jambo or Kerr.
Boylan. Who?
Boylan, could be Boylan and all, to be fair, once he gets... I'll go Brian Boylan once he gets gone.
It'd be a good race between him and Kerr, to be fair, I think.
Who's the slowest?
Craig McCracken.
Aye, Big Craig, he's going to have to.
Who's the best character in the dressing room?
Shanks, I would say.
Shankers.
Who's got the worst dress sense in the night out?
Whitey.
That short sleeve shirt.
we've seen a Sam in suit jacket and stuff like that. He's got a lot of brave choices.
Who's the teacher's pet?
Don't know, to be fair.
Say Kerr Sampson, he gets a baby murder, I think.
I'll say Aidan Wilson.
Think so?
I think Aidan's got a couple of wee arse-suits in him.
Nah, maybe.
Right, we'll move on to the stories where we've got a few sources who gave us some information. You'll probably know a lot of where that is coming from, but there's a few shockers on here. First of all, Kieran, why are you not going to the night out?
That's for shankers. I've got a couple of things coming up. That's what I can say.
Coming up in February.
It's not me.
Nearly, why do you get called Big Time Beckenbauer?
No idea. No idea.
Kieran, you're not alone. Why do you get called Rafael Nadal?
Oh, that came from Whitey one day, actually. It's a picture I get put on Facebook. I had a pair of white socks. White socks, I think it was black and white trainers on. It was during the lockdown. I think me and my missus just went a walk with the wee man and Whitey put it in. I didn't my haircut or anything. He said, Nadal. Who said that in?
I'm not sure. I'll tell you after the. I'll tell you once we got there. Right, we've got a couple here for Neill. Played with Neill at Darwin for 3 years and not once did he take a shower. Ask him if things have changed now he's at Talbot. Honestly, 3 years, not one shower. Played in the dirtiest of parts as well.
Just a wee boy, didn't want to go in the shower with the big men. And it was that late on, it was just something I couldn't come back for.
How times have changed? You're the first one in there.
What?
You're the first person in the shower now.
I wanted to do it once, it's time me, but it was too far gone. I was at they're all giving me 25 to 30-year-olds. It was no chance.
Ask Neill about the time he rubbed the denim off his jeans at the Auchinleck club.
Oh, it was just I think it was Angel Star or something like that, just a wild night. I think it was just
brilliant. We've got a few more here. I'll just get through them quickly. Ask Neill about the time he got a professional photographer to come to a game to take photos of him.
Yeah, but that was their game, right? And a photographer put up, it must have been the guts of 200 photos. And I went in and picked the ones out of my arm in and put a post up with a couple and they've just took it to there. You can't put any in social media, I don't think.
Brilliant. We've got obviously a couple more. Kieran, what's the worst thing Thomas Sloan wrote the team sheet on?
That's some question to be fair.
Can I chime in on that one?
Aye, why are in, aye.
The back of a Hubba Bubba. Like that. See the big boxes that Hubba Bubba comes in on the back of that.
I don't think I was there. To be fair, but a gas bill's probably one of the best ones I've seen. He's got a few teams wrote on it, to be fair, cut a different colour of crayons, but he's mental.
This is for both of you. What's your favourite Mark Shanklin story?
Well, don't know.
I hope he's not asked that.
No, it's not him, to be fair. That he's not asked that question.
I think there's too many. I think most of them probably you couldn't say on this.
Aye, I'd agree with that, to be fair. Seen too many different parts of that boy's body.
So it's Twitter, does he know if he's got one up his ass?
There's a wee bad one kicking about. I think it's off now. We've got a couple of serious ones here, to be fair, for both of you. Neill, it took you a while to break into the first 11 and you stuck with it and now you're one of the first names of the team sheet. Is there any advice you would give to the likes of Aaron and Robbie about biding their time in the Talbot team?
Kind of it. You just need to see, to be fair, I don't know anybody we've really signed since I've been there that's come straight in and played. Kind of, Kieran said his time on the side. Kind of look at Robbie now. Robbie started a couple of games at the start of the season, didn't play for months, and now he's played right back the last 3-4 games and been brilliant, to be fair to him. So just stick it out and grind it out.
Kieran, this one's for you. Did you know exactly what you were getting into when you signed for Talbot?
I don't know, kind of, you see it from afar. We've played against them 2 weeks in a row and you kind of see the following that they had in that, but I don't think once you're actually in and you walk into that social club after a big game and everybody's up on tables clapping, you know, I don't think you really realise what it means to people kind of doing that way. So probably not. Probably underestimated it a wee bit. And then games like last week as well, seeing that many folk at the Hamilton game, you definitely can't take it for granted anyway.
Yeah, definitely. But we'll take a wee look at what's coming up for you as well. Obviously, you've got the Kelly Pie Cup on Saturday, then the Buffs in the league before the winter break. Neil, how big's that Buffs game, obviously, to get into the winter break on top of the league?
I said it, a boy at Auchinleck asked me the views on it before the Benburg game. We've got 2 league games before the break for 3 weeks, and we need to take 6 points. We've got 3 against Benburg, and the Buffs game we'll just treat it like every other game in the league. We go there and we try and get 3 points and go up the road, but it's a must win.
Kieran, would you go along with that big game against the Buffs?
Aye, it's a big game at the start of the season there, obviously. Challengers are big clubs, so you want to go there and leave a marker. I think the last game we played in the night, we drew nothing each at the start of the season, kind of 2 years ago. So I know you want to go there, obviously, you want to finish up with the winter break with 3 points and kind of see us off nicely to top of the league, hopefully.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, we'll touch a wee bit in the big game coming up in the Scottish Cup, but before we get into that, obviously the pyramid system's changed the way the kind of league runs, and the big ambitions obviously to move up the league. Neil, obviously you've been at the club a while. How much is the infrastructure improved at the club, and how big's the club's ambitions to move up the leagues and maybe get into the SPFL down the line?
Well, you just need to walk into Beechwood to see the improvements that's been put in there. You've obviously got the floodlights, all the terracing's been updated. You've obviously got the big stand, and you've got a physio room and stuff like that. Now the committee room's all been done up. The social club, so they've obviously anticipate getting up the leagues and making arrangements for that. And when it comes to the moving up the pyramid, obviously Auchinleck, I think they were quite outspoken about no really wanting to move into the pyramid scheme. They liked where we were, but everybody else moves, you need to move with them. And now that we're in that setup, it's a case of let's just go as high as we can.
Kieran, obviously you've been there a couple of years. How impressed have you been with the way the club's moving forward, and what's the ambitions to go up and maybe get into that kind of top flight?
It's been brilliant, obviously. As Neil says, as soon as you walk in, you see the parts. I mean, there's no many better at kind of non-league football in the country, so it's the first thing you see, and then obviously when about it's brilliant. But I think once we did make the kind of decision to move, then it's only it's the top and the best for Talbot. You want to go as high as you can. You want to be winning things, beating teams. So I think it's pretty much a given. Once they made that decision to change, then we're going kind of full steam ahead to get us as far as we possibly can.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously the big game coming up is the Scottish Cup game against Hearts at Beechwood. Neil, the third best team in Scotland right now, how excited are you, and what's your hopes and expectations going into the game?
It's obviously an amazing tie to be a part of, especially now that it's getting played at Beechwood. On a personal note, I would have preferred another tie. I've played Hearts, as have most of the boys, and I think Kieran you were ill for that game, weren't you?
No, it was a broth, mate. I wasn't there. That was I signed the year after.
Oh, was it? But you want to. It's the big games you want to play in, but there's no expectations on us going into that game. It's just a game of football, and if we get beat, nobody will make anything to say about it. But if you pull off, probably it would be one of the biggest, or if not the biggest result in non-league football, then you're heroes. But I will look forward to it, and we'll just do what we do on a Saturday and try and get something out of the game. But we'll get a couple of games to take care of before that.
Yeah, definitely. Kieran, what's your thoughts going into that game? How excited are you, and what's your hopes going into it?
I know, obviously buzzing. It's a massive occasion for the club and the village. As like I say, with Neil, I played the game against Arbroath, and then I was out for the replay. So it'll be the biggest game that I've played in against probably the best players you've played against. International players right through the team. So it's going to be difficult. I don't think it'll be an enjoyable 90 minutes to be fair. If you're in that cup to kind of get acclimatised, so it's probably with St Rangers, it's probably the biggest club you can get. So I hope they're happy that it's at Beechwood, to be fair. I don't fancy chasing boys about Tynecastle. So
I don't think Hearts will be the best players coming down here, but either to be fair to them. I don't think MD in that hat really would have. Can obviously there are a couple of teams that will, but I don't think many teams would have wanted to come down to us in that draw last week.
Aye, definitely. But we can only wish you all the very best for that and for the season ahead. It's been an absolute pleasure to be both on. Thanks very much for doing it.
No
worries, mate.
Anytime.
Brilliant.
Thanks very much, mate.
Thank you very much to everyone that's tuned in. Please subscribe to our podcast and YouTube channels and follow us on social media. Thanks very much, everyone. We'll see you soon. Cheers.